Hi, good morning everyone. I hope you're having a great week and you've had a great week. And I'd just like to take this opportunity to just wish you all a very happy Christmas and a very special 2022. So I'm hoping that it will be a lot smoother sailing and we won't have the ups and downs that we've had this year. So today I want to show you, it's called a magic wallet. So this is, and it just holds money. So you can put money in there. And the magic part about it is it folds both ways. So I think that's pretty cool. So it's just two pieces. So if you can see, it just opens. So if I keep my thumb there, you can see it just opens the other way. So the ribbons are the thing that are holding it in place. Okay, so I think it's pretty cool and a nice quirky gift if you're giving money for Christmas. Though of course you could change it to a birthday or a congratulations, anything, you know, a special occasion gift. Just turn the light on so that we can maybe see a little bit better. And hopefully today too, I've got everything that I need and I'm not going to have to be walking away too much. There is that bit of a shadow there. Oh, well, I'm sure you'll cope. So, as usual, I'll post the measurements at the top of the thread of this video. Now, I've done the measurements and I've done them. So the dark blue plain coloured cardstock is 16.1 by 7.5. The reason it's 16.1 is to give that 0.5 of a centimetre between the money and there. So if you wanted to save a little 0.1 and do 16, by all means, you just change the measurements to what you want. So there's 4 of those, and then you need, I've used 4 plain cardstock, pattern paper, and then that's just the 0.5 of a centimetre smaller, so 15.6 by 7. And then the other measurements you need is your ribbon or strips of paper, and they're 12 centimetres long. So that's what you need just to hold your cards together, okay? And then whatever sentiment you want to put at the front. So what I've used today is the paper that I've used is this Blue Moon paper from the Stella range. So you can see it's quite a lovely paper, lots of lovely blues in it. Great for mail cards, you know, cut down for mail cards. And if you've got people that are interested in astronomy, then you've got the planets there as well. So that's the paper that I've used, and I like at Christmas time. I'm not a real traditionalist. I don't really love green and red, so I'm a bit of a fan of blue and gold, as you can see with this card today. So the stamp that I've used is the Vintage Corner from the Classique collection, and then I've used the A Very Merry Christmas stamp, which I've done this one in. And then there's the word montage, Merry Christmas. I think it's a Merry Christmas. No, Sparkle and Shine it's called, word montage. And they've got lovely little sentiments, and that's the one that I've used in the inside, and it's a matching font. So you can see here, these are the sentiments that come in that word montage. So they're quite lovely. And this is A Very Merry Christmas. So you can see that the fonts are matching. And then I've just used Black Archival, the Chipped Sapphire Distress ink, the Distress Embossing ink, and the gold embossing powder. Okay, so let's start. So I've already, because it's all the same, I've already embossed 2 of the panels, and then I'm going to have emboss this panel here. So now, often when I'm embossing, if I want the embossing to be pristine, I'll use the puff pillow and just rub it over the cardstock. What that does is it takes the static out of the paper so that the powder is just sitting on the stamped image and you've not got a whole heap of residual gold powder around the place. But with this being a bit of a vintagey card, I don't mind a little bit of extra gold around the place, so I'm not going to bother with the puff pillow. But that's a really good tool if you are looking for that precise embossing. So we're just going to use the clear embossing ink. So just tapping that on. Then I'm going to pop that down in the bottom corner. And I'm just going to get my discard sheet here. Now you want to get the powder on quite quickly because it dries, and if the ink is dry, then the powder won't stick to it. So just tapping it off. Then I'll just put that to the side, and then I'm going to stamp down again. And then I'm just going to stamp in the opposite corner, just slightly off the page. Because you don't want it to look as if it's in mid-air, you want it to be. So just bring the discard sheet in. I'll just miss that bit there. So just making sure you've got the powder getting on all those images. Now also, if you did have powder that you didn't want, you could just then brush it off with a little brush. So just put that aside. And then we'll bring our heat tool in. So just let it run a little bit before you put it onto your paper. I just need to hold it so you can see it, but I don't burn my fingers. And what I do is I just put it in one area first and let that, I don't know if you can see that changing, and then let that melt so the powder's melting and it's changing. If you leave the heat on it for too long, it will then go flat and lose its shine and that 3D component, that raised component. So just turn it round and do the other side. So I find if you shine it in the light, you can see it changing, and then you can make sure that it's all been heated up. So yes, as soon as that changes, then move it on to the next little bit. And then just once more, shine it into the light. Yep, just to make sure it's all completely done. Okay, so that's done. Then what we're going to do is just stamp that ink off, the embossing ink off, and we're going to put some of the vintage corner on the other little piece as well. So I've used the pale side so we can put a little message on there. And this one, I might just put a little tiny bit up the top because we want to be able to see our message. Okay, then I'm going to put the message straight in the middle. Now again, I think I've shown you this before, but for those who might not have seen my videos before, what I tend to do is, because looking at this side of the stamp, you can't tell where the words are. So what I do is I always line it up, and you can see that's a little bit off. Line up the words with the grid so that if the stamp is straight on the block, when I go to stamp this, I can then make sure that this edge or the top and bottom are equal distant from the edges of the paper. And then I know that my stamped image will be straight. So I'm just going to use the black archival for that to make it stand out. And then I'm just going to pop that on, make sure that that's all equal distance, and then press down. So there we go. So we've got that straight on there. Then I'm just going to blend around both pieces. Oops, that's the wrong ink, with the chipped sapphire. So I just think, especially in a vintage type card, the blending around the edges just really finishes it off. But again, like I always say, it's totally up to you as to what you do with your card. And again, it just takes that raw white edge off that you sometimes get when you've cut the paper down. Just finishes that off. Okay, now what we do is popping tape on all four sides of all the four pattern papers, and then we're going to pop those onto the 4 pieces of blue cardstock. Now what I did too with the other card is I blended around the blue, because this blue cardstock was still a little bit too light for what I wanted. So I've actually edged that with the chipped sapphire as well on my original card. So I think we'll do that on this one as well. Now, of course, you could make this a kid's card. I was thinking about making a kid's card, but I just didn't have the time yesterday to put my ideas down. So I thought I'll show you this, but I'd love to see what you come up with the styles of cards that you come up with. So please feel free to post them to my Facebook page, because I'd really love to see what you do. So we'll just quickly go around these. So I don't know if you can see there, but it just gives that sort of darker edge. And look, to anybody else, they probably wouldn't notice it, but I just thought that it just needed, I think the darker just makes it pop a little bit more. That's just me. So I hope this time of the year hasn't been too overwhelming for you all. I know everybody's head gets into a bit of a spin, and that's why it's nice to step out and do a bit of craft when you can, and just have that little bit of you time, that little bit of me time. I think we all operate so much better when we take care of ourselves. And at this time of the year, I think we need to remind ourselves that we are important. And yes, we need to do things for other people, but we also need to just step back and give ourselves that bit of time too. Anyway, that's my little lecture to you for today. So just taking those pieces off, and we're just lining them up. So this is the basic template, and then you do with it as you want to. So just a pattern paper onto each one. And I always have the textured side up. I like to see the texture if you've got a textured plain coloured cardstock that you're using. Okay, so now we will do our little sentiment to have that ready as well. Oops. So I'll just pre-cut these. And I'm hoping I'll put that on the block straight already. And then I do like to add, if there's a little space, I do kind of like to add a little bit of the stamp that I've been using on the project that I've been making. So just pop a little bit here and there. Just a little bit in there. And then we'll just dash around that with the blue as well. Pop some tape on this. And then we'll see, yeah, that's not bad. Quite like with the lighter. Don't know. I think maybe the lighter. So pop that on there. Now you might like to put extra decorations on this. I've just kept it to a kind of a bit of a minimum because I'm making a few, and just to make it easier. But again, it's up to you what you want to do. I suppose the thing to remember when you're actually putting it together is you're going to be putting your ribbons across. So the ribbons are what? Now, I have brought them out, haven't I? Yes. So the ribbons are what's going to hold it together. Now, I've coloured these ribbons. So this is the original ribbon. And again, this is a great way of using up your ribbon, your extra supply of ribbon. So I had it this way, which the cream would have looked okay, but I thought as I've got the ink, it's quite easy to change the ribbon colour. That's why I often buy light coloured ribbons, because then you can just change the colour. So just making sure if you are colouring your ribbon with this card, you need to colour both the front and the back, because we're going to see both sides of the ribbon. So we're going to set these two up like here, and we're going to put the ribbon here. So we're going to have ribbon going there, and then we're going to have ribbon going above it and below it. Okay. So that's how it's going to be set up. Now what's going to happen is that those ribbons here, we're going to need tape on that side so that we can then lift this up and then they will stick to the back of this piece. Then we'll be putting tape on the back of these two pieces and wrapping them around and sticking them on the back of this piece. So then when we do this, this piece will go under this piece. This piece will wrap around and stick on the back of this piece. And that's basically then what creates our double hinge kind of thing. Okay. Now, the reason I'm wanting to put it here and these ones going above is if we put them below, this will be going across the sentiment. So that's why we're putting it above, so that when we open the card the other way, we're still going to be able to read the sentiment. So that's the thing with your that you need to think about when you're placing your sentiment, is make sure you place that sentiment within the ribbon range. So don't put it right up the top because the ribbons will go over the top of it. So tend to center it, and that way you can put your ribbons at the top and bottom of the sentiment. Okay, I hope that all makes sense. If it doesn't, please feel free to contact me. So I'm going to just pull this over, set these up. So they're going about there, and I'm going to have this a little bit lower so it's sort of middle-ish. Okay, then we just get our tape and we're going to pop it on the ends. So if we set them up how we want them, just remembering you want the tape to be coming to the edge of your plain coloured cardstock here. You don't want it going over the top because then you're going to be able to see it. Now you can just roll it back if you do make a little mistake, so it's not going to be too painful, but just make sure that tape is just, and we make sure that that's straight, which it's hard to do. So let's take the paper out and we can use the grid. That might make life a bit easier. So if we pop that there, pop that there, pop that there. You can see that maybe that stamping wasn't quite as straight as I thought it was, but anyway, that will be okay. Now we're going to pop this piece right against there and press down. Okay, and then we're going to fold this over. Actually, we're going to turn this over, and on the back we're going to put this, and then we're going to make sure that's right way up. Yep. I'm going to put this back here. I'm going to take our tape off. And I'm going to pull a little bit. Does it want to come off the ribbon? Of course, does it? There we go. Now, I think I've got a bit of ribbon stuck where it shouldn't be stuck, but that's all right. Yep, so I think that's okay. Yep, so just a little bit of ribbon there. So a little bit of tape. So you can kind of just roll it and fold it back on itself. Okay. What have I done now? No, across that way. Okay, so we've got that part done. Now what we need to do is the other part. So I'm going to just pop a little bit of tape on the ends here. So we just lift that up. Pop that there. So that ribbon is just sitting a little bit above that ribbon. And then the same with this one. I'm just going to lift that up, pop that under. So that's there. And then if we turn that over, we can then pop tape on this side here. That side there. Pull it firmly. Let's pull that down a little bit. So line it up. Pull it so that's nice and firm. And put that across there. Same with the other side. Popping it across there. Okay. So then we have it opening up. Then we just put the front, we can put the front and back on. Yep, so that's the front. So I want the money on that side and the sentiment on the other side. A little bit. Okay. So the front. So just to go through it again, just to make sure you've got it. So you've got the 4 pieces of ribbon. On the first card, you want to put the ribbons above and below this sentiment. And then on the other side, you want to make sure the ribbon is again sitting above and below the sentiment. You don't want them lower, because when you flip the card this way, if it was lower, the ribbons would be coming across the sentiment. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Now you're just popping this straight over the top of that. Making sure it all matches up. And then that covers up the bits of ribbon that have been put round to the back. That up again as well. Okay, so then you've got, oops, your card. Now, in some cards I've also seen on this side where they've put the money, they've actually had a crossover. So you could cross the ribbons over. So it's the same sort of thing. So the cross of this ribbon would tuck under and be stuck at the back here, and the crossover would go there. I kind of wanted to be able to see the message when I opened it up this way too. Otherwise, you'd have that crossover going over the message. So that's why I've gone to this one. But if the message isn't that important, then of course you can do whatever you like. But that crossover option I've seen as well. Okay, so again, it's just what works for you. And then of course your money just slips in, and that's why you want this side, you know, reasonably tight, because you don't want that money falling out. Okay, so again, I hope you've enjoyed this little video. Please let me know what you think, and if there's anything you'd like me to demonstrate next year. Now, I'm going to have a little bit of time off from making the videos and, you know, just enjoy Christmas. So if there's anything you want me to demonstrate in the new year, please let me know, and I'll be very happy to demonstrate that for you. If you're wanting any information, you know where I am. Just feel free to contact me. If you're still having trouble with anything that I've shown, I know the lovely Wendy found a little discrepancy in the, I think it was the double slider card that I'd made. So the measurements were a little bit out with the cellophane measurement, but I've updated that. So I hope I didn't cause too many of you any trouble, but please let me know, you know, things like that you find I might have made a mistake on. We're all human. Anyway, take care. Have a wonderful Christmas, and we'll see you in the new year. Best of luck for everyone. Stay safe, get creative, enjoy this time. Okay, bye.